So today I'm going to make the most delicious chicken casserole that you'll ever taste. It's actually Kieran's favourite and actually my kids' favourite. So it's a chicken with apricots in a brandy sauce. Now when I make this I don't measure, but I do have the original recipe, which I probably have had for maybe, I would say 15 to 17 years. So I will put up the exact measurements in the description below, and as I'm going through it I'll call out to you what it says in my book. But as I say, I've made it for so long now I actually don't even measure. Now usually I'd make a huge casserole because the kids would always come over, they love to eat it. But today it's just Kieran and I, so I'm just going to use 3 chicken fillets. I'm using much less ingredients. In fact, I only have a couple of mushrooms, so I'm just going to use what I have, okay? So first of all, I'm going to start off, I'm just telling you, you're going to need some brandy and you're going to need some white wine, okay? The brandy it's so important in this dish because it's what gives the flavour. The alcohol does burn off, so there won't be any alcohol in it, but it's the residual flavour of the brandy that makes this dish so special. Okay, so the recipe calls for 100 grams of apricots. So you can see here I just took a handful of apricots out of the package, and you slice the apricots into maybe get 3 pieces out of each apricot. Okay, so I chopped up my apricots. It says 3 tablespoons of flour. You need 100 grams of butter, and then you need 120 grams of mushrooms. As I say, I don't even know what weight these mushrooms come to. They're all I have. Sorry, my puppy is squeaking her toy in the background. Oh, she is just a hoot. She's so cute. Hey, are you out now? Oh, now she's out to say hello to me. She is probably, let me see, she's probably about 10 or 11 weeks old, and she is such a character. We get so much fun out of her, and there's nothing wimpy about this little girl. She's right in there in the thick of everything. Okay, so 120 grams of mushrooms, 1 onion, and I actually only have a half an onion left, and for a moment I thought I had no onion, so I'll just cut off the dry ends. And 40 grams of bacon. So I have 3 slices. I could probably do a little bit more, but you know what? That's all I took out, so that's going to be fine. So 40 grams of bacon. As I say, this is just a small portion for Kieran and I. Okay, so I've turned on my frying pan, and I'm just going to, so it says remember 100 grams of butter. Not quite sure what that is, but that is what I would normally use. So I'm going to melt my butter, and now I'm just going to brown my chicken on both sides. You don't need to season the chicken when you're doing this. Oh, and actually in the meantime I should turn my oven on. Okay, so now my butter is melted, and I'm going to take my chicken breasts. Okay, so now I've browned my chicken on both sides, so I'm just going to lay them into my Pyrex dish. Now to this we're going to add our bacon. And our mushroom and our onion. We're not going to add the apricots yet. Fry them up. Now I'm going to remove the mushroom, onion and bacon, but I want to leave some of the butter in the pan because this is what we're going to use to make our roux. If you've watched me make a roux before, you know I have a secret. Take your pan off the heat when you're adding your flour. We use 3 tablespoons of corn flour. So I'm going to add my first tablespoon. Oops, excuse me, now I'm trying to, and then you're going to mix it through your butter. I need to buy a plastic whisk because I know this is very noisy. 2 and 3. Okay, so now to this we're going to add 4 tablespoons of wine. Okay, I'm going to put it back on the heat now. So that's about 4 tablespoons of wine. Turn my heat back on. And I'm going. And it says 1 to 2 tablespoons of brandy. Oh, sorry guys, I got a little heavy-handed with the brandy there. So that was probably more brandy than the recipe needs, but it's still going to taste delicious. And now we're going to add our chicken stock. Cornstarch is a little bit trickier to work with than flour, guys. So if you want to just use your, I always made this with flour, but I just changed my recipe when Connor started dating Mackenzie. So I think flour is definitely easier to work with than corn flour. So this has defined my theory, guys. This has kind of gone a bit lumpy, but I think it's got more to do with the fact that I'm using corn flour or cornstarch as opposed to regular flour, because I usually never get a lumpy roux. Before I let it thicken anymore, I'm going to strain it. Okay guys, I rarely, if ever, have a lumpy roux. But as I say, I usually make it with flour. But funnily enough, I made a roux recently using corn flour, and it also went lumpy. So I think I just need to get used to working with corn flour as opposed to regular flour. So I'm just going to scrape that through. I think there will be enough in there to thicken up the sauce. And if you happen to be on the keto diet, you could use xanthan gum to thicken this. Okay, so now I have gotten rid of all the lumps. I'm going to add it back to my pan, and then I can add more stock. So sorry guys, that was a glitch, but in a way I'm glad it was like that because I can show you how to correct it. So I know I'm going to need some more stock. To the boil and see if I need to add any more chicken stock. So I'm using this chicken bouillon. It's perfect for it. Or you can use stock cubes and boiling water. So it's usually 1 stock cube to 200, I think it's to 250 ml of water, but do check your packaging. Okay, so you can see this is coming to the boil and it's nice and thick. So now at this point we're going to add back in our veg, and we're going to add in our apricots. Turn it down now. So add in our apricots. So I'm going to stir them around. Heat them all through again. My oven is now hot, and I'm going to take my chicken. And I'm going to pour the sauce over my chicken. I'm going to cover the dish, and I'm going to pop it into the oven for an hour and a half. So guys, if you don't have a fan oven, you're going to cook it at 160 degrees in Ireland or 325 degrees in Canada. I've reduced it by 10 degrees because I'm using a fan oven, so I would suggest you do the same here. So now I'm just going to pop this in the oven. Okay guys, I always serve this dish with potatoes. Now, Amanda, my daughter, said she loves it with mashed potatoes, but I don't have any mashing potatoes tonight. Sometimes I do mash these baby potatoes, but I'm going to roast them. So when I roast them, I usually roast them with some rosemary and some garlic and some olive oil. So that's what I'm going to do for you today. Okay, so I just washed some potatoes, and now I'm going to use my pestle and mortar. So I have to tell you about this pestle and mortar. A friend of mine back home, and her husband made this for me. His name is Brandy. He's from Ratoath, and he used a tree in his back garden to make this. So it was an Irish sycamore, and he made it for me in 2012 before I left Ireland to come to Canada, and it's very precious to me. So if you have a pestle and mortar, you can do this. If you don't, just crunch it up with your fingers. So I'm just going to take some rosemary. I'm going to put a pinch of rosemary in here, and I'll just give it a little mashing because I'm only making a small amount. I'm now going to put some olive oil into this little dish. So enough to cover the potatoes, so maybe quarter fill it with olive oil. And I'm going to take, in this case, a half a teaspoon of garlic. If I was doing a lot, I would probably use a full teaspoon. So I'm just going to put in a half a teaspoon of garlic. I'm going to pour in my rosemary. And I'm going to stir. Now I'll pop my potatoes into my roasting dish. Now I'm just going to take my oil and I'm just going to drizzle it over my potatoes. These are so flavoursome. If I do roast potatoes like this, I always use this recipe. It's tried and tested, guys. You will love it. Now, because the oven is on such a low heat, put your potatoes in plenty of time because they won't cook as quickly as if you had your oven nice and hot. So my chicken has been in for just about a half an hour, so there's about an hour left in the cooking. So I'm actually going to stick my potatoes in now and hopefully they will cook away nicely. If they are getting to a point where they're overdone, I'll just take them out and keep them warm. Okay guys, so I've just taken it out of the oven and I will just show you. So there is our chicken and apricots, and now we're going to add 5 ounces of cream. I use whipping cream. The smell of this is just fabulous, and of course the extra brandy hasn't done any harm, I can assure you. So I'm just going to pour a little bit over. As I say, I make this a lot, so but for you it's 5 ounces. So I'm just going to mix that through, and you can see it lightens up the sauce beautifully. All my dogs are very noisy in the background. Okay, so mix that through. Now my potatoes were just done, so if I hadn't have put them in for the hour, they said they wouldn't be ready by now. So I'm just going to plate this up. So I'll take a couple of potatoes. And now I'm going to take out my chicken. And then you can just spoon over the lovely vegetables and sauce. And it's lovely to have plenty of sauce on the plate because you can dip your potatoes in it. And there's an extra chicken there if Kieran wants it. Okay guys, so there's our chicken with apricots in a brandy sauce and rosemary and garlic roast potatoes. Okay guys, I hope you enjoy this recipe. You should definitely give it a try. It's a fantastic dinner to make for special occasions. It's an anniversary or a birthday, whatever. Give this a try. I will guarantee you everybody will love it. So if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up guys, and if you could subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask in the comments below. Take care guys.